It is the couple of days ago was the 10-year anniversary, Preston. It was the 10-year anniversary to this. Is this the last excerpt we've ever gotten in regards to wins?
Well, it's the last excerpt. I will say that a little over a month later was Balticon 50, where George, which I attended, where George read the Forsaken chapter, and despite the fact that George told no one to record it, somebody recorded and transcribed it. It was not me. It was not me.
I was going to ask you that question. Was that you? Okay.
No. Someone recorded it and transcribed it. And so thus we have the Forsaken out there in the collection as well. But this is the last one that George released
publicly.
Was Arion 2. Yeah.
Gotcha. And it's the 10-year anniversary to it, man. This is that was the question
with the picture of Arion and Arisocard, I guess.
That actually was going to ask you. Is this the last thing he released, Winds of Winter related publicly? That's not an update. And
yeah. I suppose after this we also had the Asha fragment, but
that does not count. That does not count. 10 fucking years, brother. God.
10 years. And it's interesting to go back and look at specifically the Arion chapters, because people look at those, Arion 1 and Arion 2, and they look at Tyrion 1 and Tyrion 2. And people kind of say, why are there 2 chapters for this? Man, this is going slow. This is like Tyrion level travel log kind of stuff going on, which doesn't bode well for people's idea that George is going to wrap things up in 2 books.
Right.
Like if you're going at the pace of these sample chapters, Arion, you'd need 5.
And real quick, just to chime in on this is something Elio has told us, and he's also said this in another interview, that what's giving George sleepless nights is him trying to put himself in a position where after Winds, Dream of Spring is the only one left.
Yes. But based on the sample chapters that we have, not much progress is made. I mean, with the exception of, I would say, the Forsaken chapter, but that's one he didn't even want released. And he wrote a lot earlier. I suppose I would argue that maybe Sansa's story moves things forward, because all of a sudden out of nowhere you're having a tourney, like out of nowhere. But Arion, we knew that Jon Con was arriving and that the Dorne would have a reaction, and so Arion is sent to go meet Jon Con, and she spends 2 chapters wandering around, going to House Toland, having the little girl talk about dragon dreams, jumping on a ship, making a move on Daemon's Sand, arriving, having people complain about the Golden Company taking things and handing them promissory notes, just like the Brotherhood Without Banners, going into a cave, Elia Sand making moves on Feathers, the Raven Tender. It's great. I mean, it's wonderful color, it's wonderful world building, but at some point you just kind of say, what are you doing, George? What are you doing? So it's interesting to have a 10-year anniversary of that. Like, oh wow, where's the story going? Well, 10 years later, where is it going? I don't know.
It does feel like he's dragging his feet. It really does. Like in the story, not in real life. But
yeah, I mean, I'm just saying, like, Arion has been wandering around the Stormlands for 10 years. I mean, she's supposed to be going to Storm's End after this, but yeah, she's been stuck in the Stormlands for 10 years. I mean, Jon Snow has been been lying in the snow for 15 years. So,
by the way, if you guys want to check out a reading of Ariane, a friend of the channel, Miss Alex of the Roynar, she has some videos on that. I'll leave a link in the description below. But yeah, no, people were hitting me up saying happy anniversary and another one. Oh snap! And it's
yeah, good times, good times.
May 10th. Where does the time go? My God, where does the time go? Is this around the time we started collabing? I feel like this is 2016. I don't remember.
No, I think we probably were a little before this. I mean, I have to check like my first. Maybe I don't know, man. I think a little before this.
Hold on, let me check. Game of Thrones podcast, Preston Jacobs. What's the earliest? I know I have it in here somewhere. Here it is. Fuck, I know I have it. God. Fuck. Okay, it was like no. This is no, I'm sorry. I think our first was February 22nd, 2017. So almost 10 years.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. I needed to check real quick. Are you gonna do another video on the this excerpt? Or nah, there's no point.
I mean, I go line by line. I have a video series. I have a video series going line by line, analyzing this chapter. I think I've done my due diligence on it, line by line. Ariane 1 and Ariane 2. So.
It's quite clear because your audience has been complaining about this in your comments.
And I have a fanfic sequel to it. So, you know, that already goes on with John Con and Ariane into Ariane 3.
I was about to mention that because the community is in a weird spot. For example, I was explaining this to Preston. So in the George blog post that we just talked about, someone hit me up and they're like, dude, whoever is tending to George's blog post, they just edited the blog post from a couple of days ago. I'm like, how are you able to see that? Apparently you're able to like check by seeing like the source code.
Yeah, Wayback Machine, like
something like that. And they can also
highlights it, yeah.
Every time any blog posts come out, they take screenshots of it and then like they'll go back and see if like anything has changed. People are crazy for anything Ice and Fire related. And that includes on YouTube as well. Whenever there's a new YouTuber basically saying the same thing, people act like it's the greatest thing ever. Like, guys, this is someone who made the exact same video like 17 years ago. This is nothing here is new. And you've kind of moved on from that in your own way with the fanfic. Like, George isn't going to write it. You're going to write it. And recently, I got an email from this writer on IGN who wanted me to give some type of prediction on wins. And I told him, sure, and I'm sure you got the same email, but what can we really tell him? Like our predictions of what we think will happen? Honestly, homie, I don't even know. Other than like some of the stuff that happened in Game of Thrones might happen here.
Wow.
What are we?
It's a really difficult question because okay, it's not that even though George says he doesn't outline, but at the same time people force him to outline, and so he doesn't like to outline. People force him to outline. So we do have outlines of what George at one point thought would happen, and one of them is Game of Thrones. One of them is Game of Thrones. Like a lot in that show, we have evidence from other places cross-referencing that George at one point decided that this was going to happen or this was his plan. Mm-hmm. However, George changes his mind all the time. So, you know, for us to be like, okay, I think George is going to change his mind here, and this is what's going to happen. It'd just be really, really difficult. Could anyone predict, you know, when George was writing that original outline, that when he'd done 13 chapters of a Game of Thrones and then gave an outline to his publisher that said that Jaime Lannister was going to kill Joffrey and become king. And now it seems that if we're going based on the show and logistically what's possible, that the children would be killed in different fashions, and Cersei would become queen.
Mm.
Could you, based on the text, could you predict that at all? I don't think so. There's a lot that happens and George likes to surprise us. He likes to surprise himself. He says he gets bored if he knows where the story's going. There's a lot of things that he'd planned that's in Game of Thrones that he's cut for the books. Like, we know that the Asha rescue of Theon was an original plan, and then he just didn't do it. Stannis burning Shireen, we know it's a plan, but logistically speaking, it's just impossible.
Yeah.
It's just impossible. Brienne beheading Stannis and getting revenge. That's something she says she's going to do in A Clash of Kings. It's something that happens in the show. There is no logistical chance that could happen. Like, they are so far from each other on the map. We know he planned on killing Victarion. Victarion's still alive. There's so many little things like this where you kind of say, well, this is my plan, but it just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. How can I do that? So,
but if you outline stuff, don't you think he'd probably not have shit like this, like REM 1 and 2, where she's just wandering around?
Yeah, exactly. I completely agree with you.
Like, God damn. This is why I love your Davos fanfic and the Davos fanfic specifically, because, yeah, Davos, if this was George, Davos would be on Skagos for like 5 chapters.
5 chapters, yeah.
But you managed to like give us Skagosi culture, like move the story along, give us more insight on characters like Osha and the people she was with. Like, you did so much.
I mean, Davos itself is, when you first read Davos, which happens at the 1/3 point of A Dance with Dragons, he probably was like, okay, I'm going to have another Davos chapter later on. And then he was just like, I can't think of anything, and the book is crowded, so no more Davos. Because no one would write a book where Davos has 4 chapters in the first third and then just vanishes for no reason. In previous books, he's added filler chapters when he decides that a character hasn't been shown for a while. He'll throw in a chapter of them doing nothing, and he just didn't do that with Davos. So, was that the plan? No, he doesn't have things planned out. So you kind of say, like, where do we think the story is going? Well, he wants to surprise us. So anything that's in the book that like makes us think that this is where the story is going, we know that he's not going to do that. So there's going to be a twist. It's kind of like walking into a M. Night Shyamalan movie and being like, well, a twist is coming. You don't know what the twist is, but you know that there has to be a twist. So what is it? You're sitting there going, okay, what's going to be the twist? What's going to be the twist? So it's the same with Ice and Fire. Yeah.
Well, at least in the fanfic, you're moving things along. I did read Daenerys 2. And
rough draft. I showed Carmine has the rough draft to the editor's version of Daenerys 2. Yeah.
I will say this though, not a criticism, but it seems like towards the very end, from the meeting to like her being with the one person that she's with. I'm not going to spoil it, and what happens there. But it does seem like you rushed it a little.
Yeah. It's hard. Like every one thing that is a big struggle here is that because there's so much to do, that the chapters are getting really long, longer than George's average, which is bad. I mean, George, book to book, his chapter length average increases until, in A Dance with Dragons, I think that the average is, around 6,000 something words, and it's having the same problem. Like, the chapters are getting too long. And so, it's just trying to do whatever I can to fit everything in, because too much happens and too much needs to happen.
Let's also be very, very clear here, man. Quite clearly, you have your favorites, and Daenerys is not your favorite. Whether that's because George put her in a weird position or because Daenerys has never been your favorite.
It's not that I don't like Daenerys, but it's hard for me to put myself in Daenerys's POV. It's really hard. It's really difficult for me to put myself in Daenerys's POV.
Because you're not a woman, or
no, because I don't think I have like these contradictory desires of like wanting home, but at the same time wanting what my brother wants, and this life of abuse and going after men like Khal Drogo and Dario, like all of these things that Daenerys does, it's very hard to relate to what she's thinking. Like you could take another character like Sansa, and I understand Sansa, and a lot. And so it's not just like the woman aspect. Though of course it's going to be difficult for men to relate to women, just and vice versa. You're going to have an easier time relating to someone of your own gender. But the Daenerys makes a lot of weird choices, and it's very, very difficult for me to I don't know, relate to.
Because you're a grown ass man who has gone through life, but Daenerys, still a young girl,
Right.
doing dumb stuff.
Right.
Somehow, when you had your conversation with Bookborn, I think last year, she said how the Catelyn stuff was her favorite. And somehow George was able to write this like grieving mother fantastically, despite the fact that he is not a mother, have kids, or is a woman. So
yeah.
he's able to do that very well.
Yeah. It's because Catelyn, I mean, say what you will about her, she's a fairly consistent character. She does have some growth, but you can always relate to her and know where she's coming from. But Daenerys has such crazy, crazy experiences that how am I supposed to relate to a woman who thinks her dragons are her children? Right? Dragons aren't children. They're nothing like children. Like, you love your children, and a big aspect of loving your children is this anxiety about whether they're going to survive, and they seem so helpless and cute and things like that. And every day they do things like you, and it reminds you of when you were their age and the troubles you had, and you don't want them to have the same troubles and all these sorts of things. Like there's so much there. A dragon, right? Like it's such a foreign idea that your dragons could be your kids. Like even the people, those weird people that you meet that are like, oh, my dog is my kid, or you with your cat, oh, my cat.
Love my cat.
Kid. Like your cat is at least helpless and needs you, right? And you worry about the cat.
Mm-hmm.
A dragon is going around flaming animals in the wild, game in the wild, and is, scary and monstrous. It's just I don't see how that can be a child, and so it's really hard to relate to that, like that concept,
right?
Or like I don't see anything attractive about like Dario and Khal Drogo, but Daenerys does, and
George is able to tap into that that one urge that every woman has when she's growing up to want to fuck around with the bad boy, then realize
I mean, she wants the bad boy. I mean, not every woman. Some women are like, some women will be like, I never understood the bad boy thing. And some women love the bad boy. So it's just, women are different, but so I don't know. Don't get it.